And welcome everybody. I am Remy Does Things. We are on Varsity Overwatch, Blue Springs High School versus St. John Vianney High School. We are currently on the map Ilios. It looks like we have Soldier, Kiriko, Lucio, Junker Queen, and Symmetra. We are moving in with a control viewpoint, and it will be their job to capture the objective and keep control over it. These maps such as these are going to be very good for characters like Lucio, especially since they will be able to knock enemy teammates off of the map. This game will be the deciding factor on whether or not Blue Springs it goes to state. And so Blue Springs is taking this all very seriously and currently gaining ahead on capturing the objective. But it seems that Vianney has managed to instead get control over it pretty quickly. We have our Junker Queen pushing in pretty quickly to try and get control over the space. With Lucio aiding quickly behind with the Junker Queen to help push in and keep the team alive. Our Huntsman has swapped from Symmetra to Genji. And Saucemaker helping clear out the point. A rally from enemy Brigitte. As people keep moving quickly. The tank being brought down and quickly pretty much everyone else with it. It is now Blue Springs, in Blue Springs' best interest to group up to be ready to move once again as a group into gaining control over the point. With Vianney getting halfway, well, a little bit more than halfway with control over the point. A Junker Queen being canceled by the enemy team, and Kiriko getting demolished soon after. It does not look good for Blue Springs right away. Blue Springs was watching the stream before this with Vianney and the group that they were going up against. We now have a sound barrier and oh, okay, so this is interesting. We had a sound barrier going off, and then a Kitsune Rush followed with a Mei ultimate and Soldier ultimate. Currently, the point is contested with these supports trying to keep control of the point, along with Genji and now Wrecking Ball. Being on overtime, Blue Springs has managed to get control of the point, and they just need to keep it long enough for them to get full points on this map. People are... I'll say characters such as Wrecking Ball for this map, honestly, is not a bad idea with the quick movement. We do see, Vianney coming in and trying to get control over the point. And we can also see that our Lucio is currently not only wall riding the Mei's wall, but also booping everyone off of the objective that isn't on their team. Blue Springs about halfway there with the percentage. They just need to keep control long enough to get 100%. Although, admittedly, even if they do not get the first point, they still have a chance to win this map. But the first map, or well, the first round always makes the game. With a Kitsune Rush on our side and a rally on enemy team, There is a lot going on at once. There is a Mei ult from what I've heard. But Blue Springs is quick to react with Huntsman and going in against the soldier behind them. It is anxiety-inducing to see Genji jump right above the edge and not fall off. I will give that for sure. Blue Springs at 96%, doing their best to keep things, keep the enemy team off the point with a Dragon Blade to finish it off as overtime is steadily and quickly decreasing. The first objective being secured to Blue Springs.
Be careful, Shimada.
This is going to be interesting for sure. This is another good map. Well, another good point for Lucio. Unfortunately, this would be a great time to have Roadhog, but due to his recent character changes, he is on lockdown for a while, not being allowed to be played in a competitive state. But it will be interesting to see how characters like Junker Queen and Symmetra hold up in this map. Blue Springs is moving in quickly to gain at least control of this checkpoint, or well, control point. An enemy Mei wall trying to block off some firing from the Kiriko. But Blue Springs is still acting quickly. Oh, this is not... Blue Springs is consistently acting fast, keeping that point contested. And we can see that our Lucio was attempting to boop the enemy Orisa into the hole. The giant hole in the middle of the map. That point is staying contested. But unfortunately, Vianney has managed to wipe out Blue Springs and get the first control over the point. We can see that our Huntsman has switched from Symmetra to Mei in order to try and counteract the other enemy team's Mei, I believe. A Mei versus Mei where they're backed into the same corner. It is interesting to see how that's going. We can see that KC Vet is supporting 76 from behind, while also doing their best to take out the enemy team healers. We are coming in with Zarya from a Tiltman. That's gonna be interesting to see how that works out. The Mei walling right where the action is coming is a difficult move, but we do have a Kitsune rush for those remaining allies. Although there are not many really remaining. A Mei ult from our side, although unfortunately it is not in the area of which they're able to take out anyone for certain.
Hello.
It looks like we have swapped from Zarya to Orisa and are trying to take advantage of the high ground that's nearby to get on that point. We have a ult from 76, I believe. Whether or not that is on our side or enemy side, I am unsure. We are currently on overtime. Blue Springs needs to wipe out the enemy team. And it is proving to be difficult for sure. But four of them are on the point and getting control of the objective. Having now gained control of the objective once again, Blue Springs is at the same point where they were last round. We can see that Toasted Oreo is going back to help our Mei move up to the point quickly, which is a smart thing to do in this situation because you want to keep everyone on the point. we are seeing a vital use of corners, keeping everyone peeking around and doing their best to not only keep themselves secure from the enemy team, but to keep the enemy team from pushing too far forward themselves. We have a Mei ult on the enemy side, unfortunately freezing and killing Tiltman. And Huntsman falling off the map, unfortunately. But we do have a tactical visor from our soldier and a Kitsune rush. There is tight action going on as the point consistently gets contested on and off. But Blue Springs has managed to keep control of the point and is now currently at 60%, managing to clear out the enemy team. We do see that our Orisa has switched to ball, which again on this map is not a bad idea to have. It looks like Tiltman is trying to take advantage of surprise in certain areas by keeping up those high corners. Especially for that slam down, that is a very smart move. With the Mei Blizzard coming in soon after, that is a smart idea. We are neck and neck with Vianney getting control of that point, but Blue Springs is able to keep it contested with overtime. Unfortunately, though, Lucio being knocked out, we do not have to. Oh, it is a 1 versus 1. Blue Springs is doing their best, but there's only so much that they can do in this situation.
Let's hear that fighting spirit.
I believe the Blue Springs can honestly do this. They have been formidable opponents so far this season. And my hopes is that they are able to go to state this year like they did last year.
5, 4, 3.
They just gotta believe in themselves, in all honesty. With the teleport being placed by Symmetra and Huntsman now swapping to, I believe, Sojourn, at least from the looks of the gun, is now oh, no, Mei. Or was that Sauce that was Symmetra? I have no clue, in all honesty. But either way, that use of quickly swapping to and from Symmetra was a smart move to get that advantage when it came to moving everyone forward. With the point being contested, it looks like Vianney is going to get control over the point first. Much to Blue Springs' dismay. Blue Springs is keeping things moving though, especially with Lucio aiding the push forward onto that control point. Unfortunately though, getting speared by the enemy Orisa. That may well also, from the enemy team, being used to take control over vital control points and distance establishers. There is so much going on at once, that is for sure. Everyone is moving quickly to keep things going. We have a Blizzard from our Mei, hopefully being able to at least push back the enemy team, and I believe a Blizzard from the enemy Mei herself. The point not being under control by anyone exactly, besides, well, the point being contested, my bad. Blue Springs is managing to get control of this point, and now has the chance to turn things around. I have faith in Blue Spring's skills, especially as things start to progress and progress fast. I am hearing an enemy Cassidy ult from the sounds of it, especially since we ourselves do not have a Cassidy. But it sounds like that did not go anywhere. Tiltman managing to push people back and off and away from the point. And basically act as a guard dog of sorts. It will be hard though, since most of the team has been wiped out. As Vianney gets control of the point once again. It sounds like we have got a Bastion now, which will be interesting to see those fast-firing characters. Blue Springs is keeping things going and moving. Despite Vianney having 83%, or well, 80+% currently, Blue Springs is not giving up hope when it comes to this. Despite being pushed into such a corner, they are managing to capture, although was contested, that first point. Vianney is having now won this first map. Such a strong start for Blue Springs, but unfortunately not going the way that they wanted. Hopefully, though, this leaves Blue Springs understanding just how Vianney works to then adjust their playstyle and be able to counter Vianney in a lot more effective and secure manner. This Dragon Blade moment is also pretty vital with that overtime. I'm glad that this was the play.
Just stay tight, we have to go. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve. Just stay with me while we leave.
Good to see you.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. We are currently on Midtown, a hybrid map, and it is our job to be prepared with the defenses. Currently, we have Baptiste, 76, Sojourn, Reinhardt, and Mercy. For those who do not know what a hybrid map is, it is when you have to get control of a point, and then from there, escort the payload to its final destination.
Good to see you.
Blue Springs is on the defending end, which means it will be their goal to prevent Vianney from getting control of that point, let alone escorting that payload.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Good to see you.
We do have characters taking advantage of the height and windows to go through and basically act as snipers to the enemy team. Although it is vital for them to keep secure on what is their blind spots and what is not. But Blue Springs is doing a pretty steady job, at least so far, of keeping everyone not only grouped up, but keeping Vianney away from that control point. At least not long enough to get actually a full point. There is a... We can see that Vianney is doing their best to counter Blue Springs. And in case Vet actually countering a symmetric teleport for a little bit. We do see a enemy Bastion trying to take control of his side attack. A lot is going on at once, and a lot of Blue Springs is being wiped out, but we still do have some people on that point. Unfortunately, it does look to be a full team kill, as now Vianney is getting control of that first objective, which will soon let them start escorting the payload.
Objective lost. Stop the payload.
Blue Springs has 4 minutes to prevent them from reaching that final destination currently. And once Vianney reaches that first checkpoint on the map, they will be given extra time. Blue Springs is doing their best to keep advantage of the high ground throughout all of this, though, which can be proven to be pretty useful if Blue Springs plays their cards right. The high ground is only effective depending on whether or not you take advantage of it. We do have a Baptiste wall allowing them to basically go and take advantage of their firing, although that is not very useful for characters such as Reinhardt. So seeing him go down below and start pushing at least Vianney back some is a smart move in my opinion.
Good to see you.
We do have a Valkyrie ready at the moment, and Sojourn's ultimate. Unfortunately, I do not know the name of it. Tactical Visor is charging, and a lot of action is quickly going on. We do have an enemy Bastion ult, so Blue Springs needs to be prepared to evade those attacks, and which evade they did. There is a rally, I believe, and a enemy Orisa ult. You can see that Blue Springs is doing their best to back up from those attacks, as Vianney is reaching that second objective. Blue Springs, though, is not giving up hope as they manage to start pushing forward once again. Reinhardt rushing in just a little bit to try and get control over the enemy team, but instead canceling the rush to reunite back with this group after the enemy team had fully retreated.
Hello.
You can see that Blue Springs is still taking advantage of that high ground. Our Mercy swapping in between not only damage boosting but healing our DPS characters, especially since they are more fast firing and active moving characters. It is definitely a difficult fight for Blue Springs, but they are managing to stay confident as they push through. That payload being slowly moved by Vianney, though, as they have about almost a minute 30 left. You can see that Huntsman and Saucemaker, the team's DPS, is going through and wiping out Vianney's supports, which is a very useful skill because a tank and a DPS characters aren't much without their support characters backing them up from behind.
Just what I was looking for. Hey.
Blue Springs is doing their best to go through and keep things moving, though. With about a minute left on the clock, Blue Springs is keeping Vianney back to the best of their abilities. Especially in the case of if Blue Springs can keep things moving, or at least keep Vianney away from that first objective, Blue Springs will only have to get farther than Vianney. He did, when it is their turn to attack the payload. That payload, though, is starting to move, especially with Blue Springs being wiped out. They are going to reach that objective and gain an extra minute, almost 2. It is going to be a difficult fight for Blue Springs, that is for sure, but I know myself, are valiant triers and will not back down even with this difficult of a fight. Our Mercy has swapped to Lucio, which is honestly not a bad idea in this situation. A enemy Zenyatta ult, providing temporary immunity and healing from the for the enemy side, as our tank has been as our tank was taken out of the game just for a little bit. Blue Springs drawing back just enough. With about a minute remaining on the clock, they need to wipe out the enemy team. The payload is about to reach that final destination, and things are not looking good for Blue Springs. With Vianney reaching and getting to that final destination, Blue Springs will have to be able to get that far and get that final destination into their control. I do, in all honesty, hold faith in Blue Springs to be able to do this. They just have to prove it themselves that they are. It will now be Blue Springs' turn to not only capture the point, but escort the payload.
The streets are numbered.
We have Kiriko.
Think you can keep up?
I heard Kiriko, Junker Queen, Genji, Cassidy, and Lucio.
You haven't slept.
Yeah. Was up last night, thinking about who we used to be.
I try to focus on the good times.
Hey, yeah. We did have some of those.
With about 5 seconds remaining, Blue Springs is ready and moving to start getting to that first to get to the point. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here. I was shoutcasting another game just before, and I was stumbling just as bad, in all honesty. Blue Springs is, though, moving in and keeping things going. Taking out that immortality field is a smart and vital move in this situation, in all honesty. Especially to secure, so much is going on right at once. Blue Springs trying their best to keep things under their own control. But, Vianney is doing a good job at keeping that point under their own control. A lot of Blue Springs pushing back to at least get in control and regroup with their own team.
Soldier 76 reporting.
It sounds like our Cassidy has swapped to 76, which is a character that I have known them to be comfortable with before. We can see that Blue Springs is trying to get control of the point from the side. Unfortunately, the enemy Zarya did notice and is prepared to counter against them, along with the Mei ult, while keeping them pushed back from that original spot. Blue Springs though has that point contested. A high noon from the enemy Cassidy taking out Toasted Oreo, but Genji in return getting a solid set of revenge. A Kitsune Rush ready from our Kiriko. And Blue Springs is starting to get control and capturing that first point. It's now up to Blue Springs to escort that payload fully. We do see Genji farther up ahead with Hiltman to just try and at least scope out the enemy team and push them back. We do have a Dragon Blade ready, almost getting close to a sound barrier, along with almost getting close to a tactical visor. It sounds like we do have an enemy Baptiste ult, which is dangerous in this situation for Blue Springs, especially since that does increase their damage output on the enemy side. An enemy Mei ult, but Blue Springs managing to push out at least enough before anything could fully happen with the Mei ult. It is a tight spot with Blue Springs and Vianney, with Saucemaker being backed into a corner against a Mei wall did not turn well, especially when he was facing right up against that enemy tank. Currently, I believe Genji is on his own, which is not a spot you want to be at this very moment. Blue Springs has about 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. They want to keep things moving, that is for sure. Vianney is doing a good job at keeping Blue Springs back, which is going to be a problem for Blue Springs if they are not careful. Vianney has already won the first map. If Blue Springs wants to get anywhere, they need to keep things going. With a Kitsune Rush on both sides, I believe. A high noon from the enemy Cassidy, especially up on that bridge, taking out one of our supports, Toasted Oreo. Hiltman getting taken out quickly, along with KC Yvette and Saucemaker. With about 2 minutes, it is proving to be a difficult match for Blue Springs.
Time to get clever.
I believe Blue Springs is currently discussing on what to do, and we have seen Junker Queen switch to Winston. And I think I hear an echo. And Mercy.
Still boosting you.
Our Echo being taken out by the enemy Mei, but being revived by Toasted Oreo. Mercy coming in to, not Mercy, Winston coming in to try and clear out the group, and Huntsman following soon after, but it did not prove to be too successful for Huntsman or Winston. With, again, the group being wiped out with about a minute remaining, Blue Springs needs to get that payload moving to that first objective, whether it's on overtime or not. I have trust in Blue Springs' skill, but they need to keep this thing going. An enemy Zarya ult, but only taking out our tank. With a rally from enemy Brigitte, and the tank coming in too. This is not looking good for Blue Springs with 18 seconds on the clock. It is highly unlikely that they will be able to get overtime in these conditions if they are not careful. A Winston running in directly into a Mei Frozen a May ice field. That is not a really smart move to do, but Blue Springs is on the overtime. This is going to decide whether or not Blue Springs will win this. We did have a high noon on the enemy side. Our Mercy getting taken out. Winston ulting. Our echo copying the enemy Zarya. A Kitsune rush from our side, I believe. Blue Springs has managed to clear out Vianney, which is a tough thing to do. From what we've seen so far, Blue Springs needs to stay on overtime through all of this to get that payload to its a checkpoint. Especially now that Vianney is moving in once again, this is going to change whether or not Blue Springs will get extra time. Especially if they are not careful. And Vianney is coming in hot, but Blue Springs is also not letting Vianney get the win, at least as much as they can try. With one person only on the payload, Vianney has managed to get control over the point and win. Another defeat for Blue Springs. I really hope this doesn't go to 5 maps, guys. I can only shoutcast so much. The Brigitte getting play of the game? That's an interesting thing to see. But honestly, it's well deserved when a support gets a play of the game. Let's be honest. Anyways, we'll see you guys in a second. Hello again, everyone. We are on map 3, Dorado, with a escort the payload map.
Surviving.
Blue Springs will be preventing
Doing much better. Now that you
Vianney
aren't cheating
from
her
getting
scraps all the time.
the payload escorted to its final destination. Currently, we have Sigma, Torbjorn,
My time in the field was done.
Baptiste,
Predict everything.
Mercy, and Sojourn. It's gonna be interesting to see how Torbjorn is
That's the
utilized
stuff.
on this map.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Healing you up.
As Vianney is moving in, we can see that they have taken I'm guessing the use of a Symmetra to get up to that high ground that Blue Springs normally takes advantage of, as they have some people stay behind to escort that payload. Blue Springs is doing their best to keep things in control, especially as that payload is quickly getting moved. I do not understand why Huntsman is emoting, but as we are continuing to go through, Vianney is getting control over the payload as I believe Blue Springs is getting close to being wiped out. With an ultimate on Huntsman is going through using that railgun, at least to the best of his advantage. But unfortunately that was not enough. Our Mercy revving our tank though, at the very least to keep things moving and keep that payload under the control. And now I've successfully gained control over that payload to start moving it back from the first checkpoint. This game is going to decide whether or not it is Vianney going to state or Blue Springs currently. If Blue Springs can get a win, they will have to win 2 more maps after this. But if Vianney wins this one, they will be guaranteed their spot at the state game. Blue Springs though is again continuously doing their best, but Vianney seems to just be consistently confident in their skills and have, although contested, now reached that first objective with a team kill to back them up.
Good to see you. Hello.
Blue Springs is going to want to regroup before they go through and do anything. But right away they are faced with Vianney at the moment. They are doing their best to keep things moving. As our Torbjorn has swapped to 76, which is again a character that they are very comfortable with. Blue Springs choosing to take advantage of the high ground, but the Symmetra allowing Vianney to get behind them. Vianney still managing to escort that payload at the same time too. Blue Springs is still doing their best to keep things going though. It is a lot of effort on Blue Springs' end to keep things going, especially with the fact that there's absolute chaos going on. Blue Springs though managing to go through and rev the teammates and keep things moving. And effectively, Blue Springs managing to get Vianney off of that payload.
Hello.
It won't take long though for Vianney to come up and start pushing that payload once again. It looks like Vianney is attempting to go from behind and keep things moving. We do have a rally up from the enemy Brigitte. And a High Noon taking out our Mercy. Vianney is consistent with their effort and pushing. It is so much going on, it is hard to commentate, honestly.
A threat emerges. Such is the penalty for treason.
Our Sigma managing to take out the enemy Cassidy to keep them from moving that payload. But it looks like there is still someone on that payload managing to move it. And now for the looks of it, the rest of the enemy team too. Vianney is not a team to give up, that is for sure, and let alone one that you want to underestimate. The enemy, Zarya, has full charge from the looks of it, and is continuously firing, managing to wipe out a good portion of Blue Springs. especially as our especially as our 76 is trying to adjust to everything going on. With about a minute remaining, it looks like Vianney has managed to reach that objective and will possibly be able to reach that final destination. Blue Springs has 2 minutes on the clock to decide whether to prevent Vianney from getting that final spot.
Good to see you.
It looks like Sigma has swapped to Reinhardt.
Hey. Hello.
It looks like we have a Baptiste ult, but it does not prove to be much use when it is against a Symmetra wall. The payload though has reached the objective, and Blue Springs is doing their best to keep things from getting that final spot. But although as much as they can keep that point contested, Vianney is at least millimeters away from that final destination.
Complete.
Blue Springs needs to escort the payload to that final destination in hopes of getting a round 3.
Sides.
I have not talked so much in a day in my life. Anyways, as we are preparing for the next push of the payload, we can only hope that things go well for Blue Springs. I do want you all to know, even if Blue Springs does not make it to state, I, Remy Dustlings, and my co-caster, who is unfortunately absent today, BunnyCat210, will be seeing you all at the state game December 2nd to shoutcast.
Work together and we'll make it through. Over here!
And now Blue Springs is getting ready to push that payload. It looks like we have a Lucio and Echo, Kiriko, Bastion.
Can't change the world by following all the rules.
Oh, that Kiriko has switched to Baptiste. I'm trying to see what our other teammates are in this situation. Okay, we have Sojourn, and our Bastion has swapped to a Symmetra. And it looks like we still have Sigma here with us to keep us going. There is a Reaper on the enemy team, and that is a known tank eater, that is for sure. Blue Springs has 3 minutes on that clock. Well, 3 minutes 30 seconds to keep that payload moving to that first objective. Just as much as Vianney has 3 minutes and 30 seconds to keep Blue Springs from moving that payload. Blue Springs, although doing their best, is consistently seeing struggle when it comes to Vianney, but they are still managing to keep that payload moving, which is vital in this situation. Casey Vet, one of the supports, being taken out from the enemy team, but the Reaper getting taken out just as much, along with one of the other supports.
Let's move this payload.
Blue Springs, though, is managing to keep that payload moving, which is very important. Blue Springs keeping an eye on the high ground, which is needed in this situation. Blue Springs is consistent with keeping, at least attempting to keep Vianney back as far as possible. But Vianney is getting at least control over that high ground, which can be a hassle. Along with the fact that Cassidy has high noon and on the high ground. That is a team at least close to a team kill for on Blue Spring's side.
Hey. Good to see you.
How about I try that again?
Blue Springs, it needs to regroup and keep moving. With 4 minutes on the clock, it looks like Blue Springs is attempting to attack Vianney from behind. But unfortunately, it seems Vianney did see our Sigma.
Over here.
We do, though, luckily have a Symmetra ult as acting as a shield. A rallying Brigitte versus a rail gunning Sojourn is an interesting thing for sure. With Tiltman getting 3 kills in a row, hopefully helping clear out the space enough for Blue Springs to start moving that payload. Blue Springs has about 3 minutes to move that payload to its second destination. There is consistent hard work on both sides, as everyone is acting on their best behavior. Well, not just best behavior, but best efforts. Our Sojourn at low health, but managing to get close to our supports enough to push things through just a little bit longer. Although, unfortunately, our supports is at low HP as well, since Vianney has managed to get control over the payload.
Come on, Vivian. Get yourself together. Good to see you.
Next track.
Hey, hello.
Blue Springs is slowly pushing forward again with about 2 minutes on the clock.
Watch here.
Blue Springs is doing their best to keep that payload moving, but it is consistently hard, especially when Vianney has at least an advantage over the area. Nonetheless, this is a good show of just how much of a challenge Blue Springs is having, but being challenged is not always a bad thing. Hopefully this can be used as a learning opportunity for the next, at least hopefully next round. And Ult Cassidy is going to be dangerous to go up against, but luckily it looks like we had a sound barrier from Lucio at a good time. With about 1:30 on the clock, Vianney is managing to consistently wipe out Blue Springs once again, keeping Blue Springs back from getting on the group. Blue Springs is going to have soon about a minute to escort that payload to its final, to its next checkpoint, which honestly isn't that far away from the looks of it. But when you're consistently trying to manage staying alive and moving that payload, it's going to be a difficult choice to choose between. There is a lot going on at once, but Blue Springs is trying their best to stick together with about 30 seconds remaining. The point being contested, but being wiped out by Vianney. This is not looking good in Blue Springs' favor. They have 30 seconds to reach that final well, about 10 seconds to reach that payload. Keeping things, not only just that, but keeping things moving forward and staying alive. It will be a difficult choice for Blue Springs. A rally from the enemy brig and overtime being on the clock. As long as that point stays contested, overtime is going. But it does not look to be in Blue Springs' favor, and Blue Springs has officially lost. Unfortunately, Blue Springs will not be going to state, but they have done their best nonetheless this season. Ending this off with Tiltman getting play of the game as Sigma. They truly did do their best. But in the end, that was not enough. I'm Remy Does Things, and I'll see you next time.